Hello friends, welcome to Margee Economic Survey 2021-22, and in that we are discussing the topic of industry and infrastructure. In our last lecture we discussed some points of this topic, and now we will continue with this. This will be the last session of this economic survey series, and in that we will be discussing rest of the topics of this economic survey. Industry and infrastructure, and in that we were talking about the textiles. The last point was about the textiles. So this textile industry, it is the second largest employment generator in India. It is second largest employment generator in India, and it is next only to agriculture. So agriculture is the largest employment generator, and then textile industry is the second largest. And despite the industry being deeply affected by lockdown, during COVID-19 related lockdowns, it has shown a remarkable recovery with positive contribution to growth, as is reflected by IIP also of roughly 3.6%. That is the positive contribution during April to October 2020. That is again one significant point about this textile. And related to this, there are some government initiatives given here, like production linked incentive scheme for man-made fiber that is announced, and then you are having this PM Mitra, that is PM Mega Integrated Textile Region and Apparel Park. So this is again one significant point related to prelims exam. So the government initiatives, these are your government initiatives related to textile. Then next point is about electronics industry. Electronics industry, it is also known as meta resource. This is again one important thing, that this electronics all over the world, it is recognized as that meta resource, and this industry is world's largest and fastest growing industry, and increasingly you can see that these are having applications in various sectors, specifically in the context of industry 4.0, specifically in the context of this fourth industrial revolution or industry 4.0. So what are the government initiatives related to electronic industry? First of all, there is this production linked incentive scheme. Now this scheme is announced in various sectors, this you should check. Production linked incentive scheme. Then specific policy is there, National Policy on Electronics 2019. Then we are having this scheme called SPECS. SPECS means Scheme for Promotion of Manufacturing of Electronic Components and Semiconductors, that is SPECS. And then you are having this Modified Electronics Manufacturing Cluster 2.2, that is EMC 2.2, that is also one important scheme related to electronic industry. Now these are the schemes that are given in survey. Here we are adding it in brief because these are quite detailed kind of scheme given in survey, and for your prelims exam you can simply check the basic objective of this scheme. So all these schemes, what is the basic objective, which ministry is launching that scheme, and what is other related data about that scheme. So this you can check related to the various schemes that are mentioned in economic survey. Then recently government also approved an outlay of rupees 76,000 crore, roughly more than 10 billion US dollar, for the development of semiconductors and display manufacturing ecosystem. This is also one significant initiative taken by government. Then in one box it is given PARAKH, 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 that is Unified Laboratory Network. Now recognizing that testing and certification, these are the crucial factors for enhancing the competitiveness of Indian goods and service. This portal called PARAKH has been set up in June 2021. This you can consider as part of your current affairs, wherein all the accredited, certified and recognized laboratories in the country would be mapped on the GIS platform. And this United Laboratory Network has been developed with support of Ministry of Electronics and IT. This is the important point. With the support of Ministry of Electronics and IT, this PARAKH portal is developed. Apart from that, this Bhaskaracharya National Institute of Space Application and Geoinformatics, it is involved in this, which is located in Gujarat. And then concerned ministries, various kind of ministries or departments are also involved, but primarily Ministry of Electronics and IT, and then this Bhaskaracharya National Institute. These are involved here. Over 6,580 laboratories have already been mapped on this portal, and related to that we can see various accredited laboratories are being mapped on this portal. So roughly you should know about this Parak as the unified laboratory network in which you are having various accredited laboratories onboarded on this portal, that is Parak. It is being launched in June 2021. Then next point is about pharmaceuticals. Indian pharmaceutical industry ranks third. This is important. Third in the world in pharmaceutical production by volume. So by volume we are ranking third. During 2020-21, total pharma export, it was 24.4 billion US dollar against the total pharma import of 7 billion US dollar, thereby generating trade surplus of 17.5 billion US dollar. So in pharma sector we are having this trade surplus. Also India is largest supplier of generic medicines with 20% share in the global supply, and that's why we also call India as a pharmacy of the world. Also, when we talk about foreign direct investment in pharmaceutical sector, there is sudden rise in this in FDI, that is foreign direct investment, in 2020-21 as compared to previous year. There was sudden rise in the FDI showing 200% increase, and this is the time when we can see that the COVID-19 pandemic is also going on. Because of that also this pharma FDI increased. In 2021-22, in the period of April to September, FDI inflows continued to be buoyant at rupees 4,413 crore, growing at the rate of 53% over the same period in 2020-21. So because of the pandemic factor, you can see that pharmaceutical sector FDI is continuously rising. That is again one crucial point which is given here. But there is one concern related to pharma industry, that the material, or you can say the content that is used in medicine, the country is significantly dependent on the import of bulk drugs that are used in the formulations of medicine, that is in the content of medicine. And since we are dependent, what is the data related to this? That import dependence varies between roughly 80 to 100%. That is the range of import that we are having here. And we need to look at this issue carefully. And because of that, there are some government initiatives related to this, that how we can be self-sufficient in those bulk drugs. And because of that, there are some government initiatives like the scheme for promotion of bulk drug parks is there. Also, production linked incentive scheme is there in bulk drugs. Then production linked incentive scheme for pharmaceuticals is also ongoing. And then production linked incentive scheme for promoting domestic manufacturing of medical devices. Promoting domestic manufacturing of medical devices. So these are various government initiatives that can help us in tackling this concern related to pharmaceutical. These initiatives we can see. Then next point is about infrastructure. Now related to infrastructure, they have given in detail about national infrastructure pipeline and national monetization pipeline. So these two things you should see. On any PIB page also you can get the data. On PIB page also you can get the data about national infrastructure pipeline and national monetization pipeline. You will see that the data that is taken from PIB roughly similar to that the data you can see in economic survey also. So you can read it from PIB page also, national infrastructure pipeline and national monetization pipeline. Then in infrastructure, this road transport, that is one important topic which is given here, road transport. Now importance of this road infrastructure, it is widely recognized as a potent means of socio-economic integration, because you connect different areas, you connect different societies, and you will connect different economies also. And that's why this road infrastructure is quite important and vital for the economic development of the country. Roughly what is the data? That 63.71, again this is the provisional data, 63.71 lakh kilometer of roads are there as on 31st of March 2019. And India's road network is second largest in the world. India's road network is second largest in the world after United States, which is 66.45 lakh kilometers of road. So first is United States, and on second we are having India, second largest road network in the world. Then related to road, there is one more important point given here, that extent of road construction per day, it increased substantially in 2020-21 to 36.5 kilometer per day. In 2020-21, road construction per day was 36.5 kilometer. Earlier in 2019-20, it was 28 kilometer per day, and roughly you can see that 30.4% of rise is there in road construction per day in 2020-21. In infrastructure, and by the way, this is your GS3 syllabus topic also, infrastructure directly mentioned in UPSC syllabus. Now railway, this is third largest network in the world under single management. So Indian Railway is third largest network in the world under single management. So you should check the first two countries in terms of their rail network. India is having third largest network. An average of 1835 track kilometer per year, 1835 track kilometer per year of new track length has been added through new line or multi-tracking projects. Either it is new line or it is a multi-tracking projects. So this much amount of rail line has been added during 2014 to 2021, and in between 2009 to 2014 it was on an average 720 track kilometer per day. It increased to 1835 track kilometer per day. And related to railway, there is one important point which is focused here. It is about the safety of passengers. So with continuing focus on safety of passengers, the number of consequential train accidents has come down from 59 in 2018-19 to 55 in 2019-20. That is pre-COVID we are talking about. And further, it reduced to 22 in the 2020-21 period. So it is decreasing from 59 to 55 and 55 to 22. The number of accidents they are talking about here. Then related to rail, there is one more point, that is the electrification. 100% target is there by December 2023. 100% electrification. So electrified route kilometer as a percent of total route kilometer, in that they are talking about here in 2020-21. This first point is electrified route kilometer, and then the second one is the total route kilometer. So total route is this much, and you are having electrified route this much in 2020-21, and in 2023-24 you are trying to have the entire route length, that is total route kilometer, as your electrified route. So that is the target by 2023, and this is given from 2000 to 2001. This was the gap. 2010 to 2011, again this is the gap, but now the gap between these two, it is only this much, that only this much amount of route is going to be electrified. That is the scenario here. Then number of stations equipped with Wi-Fi. This is again one important point. Railway stations equipped with Wi-Fi. In 2020-21, it is roughly 65%, you can see, in between 60 to 70%. But rather than remembering this data, you can simply see this trend, that the number of stations that are equipped with Wi-Fi, it has increased from 2016-17 till 2020-21. Continuously it is increased, and this is the data given by Ministry of Railways. After that, civil aviation. In infrastructure they are talking about civil aviation. India has emerged as one of the fastest growing aviation market in the world, one of the fastest. And related to that, some data is given that domestic traffic in India, it has more than doubled from around 61 million in 2013-14 to around 137 million in 2019-20. 61 million to 137 million. that is the growth, and registering a growth of over 14% per annum in between this time span. About civil aviation, domestic traffic, this data is given. Related to civil aviation, two important initiatives are given. This you should read. One is Udan RCS, that is Regional Connectivity Scheme, and then liberalized drone rules 2021. In detail, also they have given the drone rules in one of the chapter. In one of the box they have given the liberalized drone rules 2021 also. Then next point, just a second. So in survey, you are having this next point as ports. So railways we have seen, after that civil aviation we have seen, and then the next point is about ports. Now in ports, there are some significant initiatives that are given here. First of all, they are talking about the fleet strength. So as on 31st of December 2021. So as on 31st of December 2021, India had this fleet strength of 1463 vessels. 1463 vessels. That is the strength, and in that they have given one term which is important, that is gross tonnage. So with gross tonnage of 13,000 and 11,000. So that is the value which is given here. That gross tonnage of 13,000 and 11,000, and earlier in 2019 it was 1,429 vessels and gross tonnage of 12,746,000. So we can see that there is increase in fleet strength and gross tonnage as compared to 2019. That is one important point. But India's fleet strength, it is just 1.2% of world's fleet in terms of capacity, and it carries only 7.8% of India's exempt strength. So we need to improve in this area. We need to improve our fleet strength. There is need to improve fleet strength. That is one important point which is emphasized here related to ports. Need to improve the fleet strength. That is one important point. And how you can do this, how you can improve the fleet strength? So there are multiple initiatives that are given. First of all, you are having initiatives. In that they have given about Sagarmala program. Then we are having this Major Port Authority Act 2021. Major Port Authority Act 2021. And then we are also having one policy related to this, a new captive policy for port dependent industries. New captive policy for port dependent industries. Port dependent industries. Port dependent industries. New captive policy for port dependent industries. Apart from this, these are the three initiatives which are given, and here they are talking about the Maritime India Vision 2030, which is a blueprint for the entire development of India's maritime sector. So Maritime India Vision 2030. That is one significant initiative related to this code. So in this chapter, they have given about various sectors. So simply we need to know that what is the current data that is given, and then what are the initiatives related to that. That is the simple and straightforward way of reading the economic survey, specifically this chapter. Then next point is about the inland waterways. Now related to this inland waterways, First of all, they have given a new initiative, that is Inland Vessel Act 2021. So regulatory amendment through this Inland Vessel Act, Inland Vessel Act 2021, Inland Vessel Act 2021, and it replaced the Inland Vessel Act 1917. Roughly 100 years old act was replaced. Inland Vessel Act 2000, Inland Vessel Act 1917, it was replaced. And in that we can see the objective is to promote economical, to promote, what is the objective here? To promote economical, then safe transportation, economical, safe transportation, and trade through inland waters. And trade through inland waters. Inland waters. That is the objective of this Inland Vessel Act 2021. Apart from that, they are talking about the Jal Marg Vikas project and different national waterways. They are talking about Jal Marg Vikas project. That is one important point mentioned here. Jal Marg Vikas project. Then related to this inland waterways and overall infrastructure development, they have given one important government initiative, that is PM Gati Shakti. PM Gati Shakti. That is one important initiative mentioned here. PM Gati Shakti, which is integrated plan ensuring multimodal and seamless connectivity. This is for multimodal and seamless connectivity. Multimodal and seamless connectivity. PM Gati Shakti for multimodal and seamless connectivity. That is one significant point. Related to inland waterways, these things are given. Some data is given, but that is not that much important for your exam, because this is too much amount of data that is quite difficult to remember also. And about inland waterways, some factual things like this only you can take from this survey. After that, next point is about your telecom sector. Telecom sector, and in that they have given firstly one significant fact that India is world's second largest telecommunication market. India, it is world's second largest telecommunication market. World's second largest telecommunication market. Telecommunication market. That is one significant point mentioned here. Then the relevance of telecom sector. What is the relevance then? What is the relevance of this sector? And in order to understand this relevance, one important fact is given, that total telephone subscriber base in India. Telephone subscriber base. Telephone subscriber base. If you see this number, it is 1200.88 million, which is in March 2021. March 2021. And within that, 45% subscribers are from rural India. 45% are from rural India. And then 55% are from urban India. That is one fact which is given here. Also related to internet penetration, internet subscribers, let's see what is the data about internet subscribers. So internet subscribers, in that The data is 833.71 million. 833.71 million, and this is by June 2021. June 2021, this data is given, and related to that, some maps are given here. After that, total volume of wireless data usage, it increased by more than sevenfold in the quarter one of financial year 2022. So the wireless data usage, wireless data usage, it is 32,000 32,397 petabytes. 32,397 petabytes, and this is in quarter one of financial year 22. Quarter one of financial year 22, and this is sevenfold increase since 2018. Sevenfold increase, or you can say 7 times it increased. Sevenfold increase since 2018. Sevenfold increase since 2018. That is one significant point. And when we talk about this telecom sector, there are some reforms in the telecom sector suggested here. Some structural reforms are given, and then some procedural reforms are given, and that is clearly mentioned in this survey. So, reforms in the telecom sector, some structural reforms first we will see, and then we will see the procedural reforms. Structural reforms, in that, the rationalization of this adjusted gross revenue, that is AGR, rationalization of adjusted gross revenue, the non-telecom revenue will be excluded on prospective basis from the definition of adjusted gross revenue. We will not count non-telecom revenue in this adjusted gross revenue of the operator. After that, bank guarantee against the license fee have been rationalized. One bank guarantee in different license service areas, regions in the country has been allowed. So you can have one bank guarantee in different licensed areas. Then third point is interest rates rationalized or penalties are removed. So from 1st of October 2021, delayed payments of license fee or spectrum usage charge, all these are applied on the operators. It will attract interest rate of SBI's MCLR plus 2% instead of MCLR plus 4%. So the fine, or you can say the charge, is reduced. Earlier it was MCLR plus 4%, now it is MCLR plus 2%, and interest compounded annually instead of monthly. Penalty and interest on penalty is also removed here. And fourth point in structural reform is, for auctions held henceforth, after this auctions held, no bank guarantee will be required to secure installment payments. Spectrum tenure, related to that, the tenure of spectrum is increased from 20 to 30 years. Now this is important for prelims exam also, that spectrum tenure is increased from 20 to 30 years. Then surrender of spectrum will be permitted after 10 years for spectrum acquired in the future auction. So you can surrender it after 10 years. Then no spectrum usage charge for spectrum acquired in future spectrum auction. There will not be such kind of charge. Then eighth point is spectrum sharing encouraged. Additional, the spectrum usage charge of 0.5% for spectrum sharing, that is removed. So if you are sharing the spectrum, it will be encouraged, so that charge will be removed. And then ninth point is to encourage investment, 100% FDI under automatic route has been permitted in the telecom sector with all safeguards applying. That is again one important point for your prelims exam. So these are the structural reforms in the telecom sector, structural reforms. And when we talk about the procedural reforms, first of all, auction calendar will be fixed. So when the auction will be conducted, that date will be fixed. Spectrum auctions to be normally held in the last quarter of every financial year. That is one point. Then ease of doing business will be promoted, and all the difficult, or you can say complicated requirement of licenses under the custom notification for wireless equipment have been removed, and this is replaced with self declaration. So you need to self declare, and after that the documentation part will be kept. And KYC, that is know your customer, KYC reform, self KYC, which will be based through mobile app, it is permitted. E-KYC rate revised to only 1 rupee. Shifting from prepaid to postpaid and vice versa does not require fresh KYC now. Some procedural kind of things that are being done here. Then customer acquisition form, that is CAF, customer acquisition form in physical form will be replaced by digital storage of data, and this is a cost saving measure, and it would allow the telecom service providers to release several warehouses that was being required to store 300 to 400 crore papers. So if you are switching to the digital storage, then the space that was required for the physical documents, it will be saved. After that, further with this measure, warehouse audit of CAF would also not be required. So there is no need to check these warehouses because the entire thing will be shifted to digital mode. And then Standing Advisory Committee on Radio Frequency Allocation, that is SACFA, clearance for telecom tower is eased. Department of Telecommunication will accept data on a portal based on self-declaration basis, which is to be linked to portals of other agencies like civil aviation. So that is also one procedural reform that is being made here. Apart from this, the survey is talking about various kind of initiatives in this, like BharatNet project. There are some changes related to this BharatNet project. So just check this BharatNet project. So they are talking about this BharatNet project, optical fiber cable. After that, comprehensive telecom development plan for northeastern region. Comprehensive telecom development plan. Comprehensive telecom development plan for northeastern region. For northeastern region. That is one important initiative which is mentioned in economic survey. Comprehensive telecom development plan, and then these reforms are given related to telecom sector, right? After that, they are talking about the petroleum and natural gas. Firstly the data that is given here about the production of the petroleum products. So first data is about the crude oil and condensate production. Crude oil and condensate production. Crude oil and condensate production, and this is in the year 2020-21. It was 30.49 million metric ton, that is MMT. 30.49 million metric ton, that was the data in 2020-21, and earlier in 2019-20 it was 32.17 MMT. 2019-20 it was 32.17 MMT. 32.17 MMT, that is the data which is given here. And India depends on import to meet more than 80% of its requirement related to petroleum and natural gas. That is one significant thing which is mentioned here, that India depends on import. India depends on imports to meet more than 80% of its requirement. To meet more than 80% of its requirement, and because of that we need to have various kind of initiatives related to this petroleum and natural gas. Now there is one significant thing which is mentioned here, that both the domestic oil and gas production and crude oil production, both are, or crude oil processing you can say, both are decreased or both have seen that decline during this time because of various kind of factors like unplanned shutdown, lower demand of petroleum products. So because of these things, there is slowdown in this sector. There is slowdown in this sector, both in production of crude oil and then production of natural gas. And this data they are talking about during 2020-21. But they are also saying that the projected or the expected recovery will be soon, and this they have mentioned through the graph also. So slowdown in crude oil production, and also there is slowdown in production of natural gas. Slowdown in production of natural gas. So this is given, and after that there are several measures that are being taken by government in this field. So they are talking about one important initiative, that is Lakshya Bharat Portal. Lakshya Bharat Portal. Lakshya Bharat Portal. And this portal was launched in September 2021. September 2021. What is this Lakshya Bharat portal? It is such kind of platform that requires all oil and gas organization to upload detail of various items procured by them. So all the items that are procured by the oil and gas organizations, that should be uploaded on this portal. Details about that. So it requires all oil and gas organizations to upload details of various items procured by them. Various items procured by them. So this Lakshya Bharat portal, that can be one important point. They can ask you like, this is related to what? That is also one probable question, right? And after that, there are some other initiatives related to this uh, petroleum and natural gas sector. So Ujjwala Yojana, that we all know, that Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, this is being mentioned here. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, related to this petroleum and natural gas sector, that is mentioned here. And apart from that, there are some measures taken to develop the national gas grid and city gas distribution network. One is this Ujjwala Yojana, and apart from that, there are some other initiatives like national gas grid, then Pradhan Mantri Urja Ganga, then Northeast gas grid, and then city gas distribution network. So this is separately given in one box. So basic things about this you should know, like national gas grid. What is the aim of this? To create a nationwide gas grid. This Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board. Once in prelims exam, they have asked you about this Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board also, and that was in UPSC prelims 2019. UPSC prelims 2019, they have asked you this question, and it has authorized approximately 33,764 kilometer of natural gas pipeline network across the country, and this is on 31st of March 2021. They are talking about the national gas grid. It would connect all the major demand and supply centers in India, and that is a significant kind of thing related to this gas distribution. Then Pradhan Mantri Urja Ganga, Northeast gas grid, and then city gas distribution network. These are the various initiatives related to the national gas grid and city gas distribution networks. After that, next point is about electricity, and related to electricity, some data is given that total installed power capacity, total installed power capacity, total installed power capacity, and captive power plant. and captive power plant. Total installed captive Total installed capacity and captive power plant, that is industries having demand of 1 megawatt and above. That is nothing but captive power plant they are talking about. So 1 megawatt, that is industries having demand of 1 megawatt and above. Demand of 1 megawatt and above. So what is the data? That this is 459.15 gigawatt. So this is total installed power capacity, 459.15 gigawatt, and this is on 31st of March 2021. 31st March 2021, 459.15 gigawatt. And earlier in 2020, on same date 31st March 2020, it was 446.35 gigawatt. 446.35 gigawatt. This was on 31st of March 2020. 31st of March 2020. That is one important point which is mentioned here. And by this you can see that there is 2.87% of growth. There is 2.8% or 2.87% of growth here. And within that total installed capacity, which is having the maximum share, so the total installed capacity, and within that maximum share is of thermal sources. Thermal sources is having maximum share. Thermal sources, it is having maximum share of 61.42%. 61.42%, that is the share of thermal sources. Then on second number, renewable energy sources, which are 24.7%. Renewable energy sources. Renewable energy sources, that is 24.7%. 24.7%, that is renewable energy sources. And the next point is about that same renewable energy only. So renewable energy, in that they are talking about solar, wind, biomass and small hydro energy. Small hydro energy. Now in this renewable energy, some important facts are given. Firstly, they are talking about renewable energy excluding large hydro. They are not counting large hydro projects here. They are only counting the small hydro projects. So this renewable energy constitute over 24.7% of India's installed power capacity. So this constitute 24.71% of installed power capacity. 24.71% of installed power capacity, and it is also around 10.71% of electrical energy generation for the year 2020-21. So around 10.7% of electricity generation is through renewable sources in 2020-21. Now this data is quite important because this can be used in mains exam, or also MCQs can be created from such kind of data. And as on 31st of October 2021, India's total renewable energy installed capacity, it is 103.05 gigawatt. So as on 31st of October 2021, What is the total renewable energy installed capacity? Total renewable energy installed capacity. Installed capacity. It is 103.05 gigawatt. 103.05 gigawatt. That is the renewable installed capacity. Now, in this, there is one more important point, that on one side you are having installed capacity, and on other side you are having electricity generation. So you are having installed capacity, and on other side you are having electricity generation. Now there is gap between these two. Why there is gap between these two? That you are having installed capacity, but you are not having the same amount of electricity generated. Why this is the gap related to this renewable energy sources? Because first of all, talk about solar. When we talk about solar, you can have the solar energy or solar energy related electricity because of sunshine. And when we talk about wind, you will need the wind speed in order to generate the electricity. So these are the factors that will determine the amount of electricity generation. That is why there is this gap between installed capacity and its utilization for electricity generation. And in relation to this, there is one more initiative which is given here, that is green energy corridor projects. Green energy corridor projects. Green energy corridor projects. So this initiative is related to this renewable energy, green energy corridor projects. And related to this installed capacity and electricity generation, they have given this pie chart. Related to installed capacity, the largest is through thermal sector, then it is followed by renewable energy sources, then the hydro sources, specifically this large hydro, 10%, and then 1% is from nuclear. When we talk about electricity generation, the data is same, or you can say sequence is same. Thermal is at the top, renewable energy second number, hydro third number, and then nuclear fourth number. The sequence will be same, but the amount or contribution will be different because of this installed capacity and electricity generation difference between these two. Because of that, the numbers are varying here. Right. So till this point, we have discussed about our chapter on industry and infrastructure. Now next is about the services. And when we talk about services, there are some important trends that are given here. So PMI means what? Purchasing Managers Index. Now related to that, some trends are given. So trends in high frequency indicators, and within that they are talking about services PMI index. Services PMI index, and during lockdown one, it drastically decreased, and then it started increasing. And after that, this is second COVID-19 wave, and after that it goes on increasing, and again it started falling. But the fall here is less than the fall here. That is one important point. That services PMI index. So India's service sector activity, which had contracted for 5 consecutive months since March 2020. Since March 2020, it contracted, and it recovered sharply in October 2020. Again, it dropped in this May 2000. Again, it dropped in May 2020, and after that, as a consequence of second COVID-19 wave, in May, June, and July, it again dropped. May, June, and July of 2020 when we are talking about. But this contraction in May to July 2021, that is during the second COVID-19 wave, it is not that sharp as the contraction in the first COVID-19 lockdown. So that is one significant point related to this services PMI index. Then about the different kind of sectors, rail freight for example, all these are service sectors, and because of that they are talking about this. So rail freight, in that also, the during the lockdown one, this is the period of this entire lockdown one. This was the trend. After that, it started increasing. Second COVID-19 wave they have shown here. It peaked, again it started dropping, and right now it is on that increasing trend. Then air freight also, the trend is given here that it started decreasing roughly in the month of this February to May 2020. It dropped and it started increasing later, and it is having this fluctuating trend here. And cargo traffic also, you can see that there is decline, and then it is this kind of fluctuating trend related to cargo traffic. After that, related to domestic air passenger traffic, you can see during COVID-19 lockdowns in many countries, this restrictions were there, and within India, that is domestic also, restrictions were there. Because of this, you can see this kind of fluctuating curve here. And then rail passenger traffic also, there is a sharp drop, and now it started increasing. So these are various kind of trends that are given in high frequency indicators of your service sector. After that, they are talking about the bank credit to service sector. Bank credit. So this bank credit, it registered the growth which had moderated significantly in 2019. It started picking in 2020, increasing to 8.8% at the end of December 2020. So it increased to 8.8%. It increased to 8.8% on this year on year basis, YOY basis. It increased at the end of December 2020. At the end of December 2020, this bank credit increased at the end of December 2020, and it is more as compared to 6.2% in December 2019. So as compared to 6.2% in December 2019. That is increase in the credit to the service sectors. And after that, this increase was there in December 2020, but later in 2021, the increase, this momentum to the bank credit, it decreased. First of all, the momentum that has lost its pace in 2021-22. So it decreased at the end of November 2021 to 3.6%. So at the end of November 2021, at the end of November 2021, it decreased to 3.6% bank credit to the service sector. It decreased to 3.6%, and earlier it was 8.8%, and now it decreased to 3.6% at the end of November 2021. So that is the fluctuating trend we can see here. And related to that, they have also given this graph, that is growth to the, or growth in the bank credit to the service sector. So on various monthly basis, they have given here that they started decreasing, and then slight increase, again it decreased, and now it is on that increasing trend. But right now we can see it dropped to 3.6%. It dropped to 3.6% at the end of this November 2021. This graph is given, and after that the next point in this is FDI inflows into the services sector. First of all, when we talk about FDI inflows, in our last lecture also we discussed about the FDI inflows, and related to that we can see that service sector is the largest recipient of FDI in India. Service sector, it is largest recipient of FDI in India. Largest recipient of FDI in India, that is service sector, which can be a prelims bit also. This is largest recipient of FDI in India. Now there is one important UN organization that is UN Conference on Trade and Development. In short, it is known as UNCTAD. They released one report titled World Investment Report. World Investment Report. World Investment Report 2021. World Investment Report 2021, and in that they have given one data related to India, that India was fifth largest recipient of FDI in 2020. Fifth largest recipient of FDI in 2020. So India was fifth largest recipient of FDI, fifth largest recipient of FDI in 2020. Fifth largest recipient of FDI in 2020. And in 2019, India was ninth largest. So it improved its position by 4 places. And within this FDI inflow, the share of various sectors, within that we can see maximum share is by within FDI of service sector. So within service sector we are talking about. So maximum share is of computer, software and hardware sector. Computer, software and hardware sector. So what does it mean that if this sector is impacted, this computer, software and hardware sector, which accounts for 42.59 percentage of service sector FDI, 42.59%. So if this sector is impacted, then we can see that overall FDI inflows in India will suffer. And that's why this is quite important sector, that is computer, software and hardware sector. That is a key area in this entire FDI regime of India. FDI inflows into service sector we are talking about. Then related to this services export, so India, related to India, they are saying that India remained among the top 10 services exporter countries in 2020. So India among top 10 services exporter country, in 2020, among top 10 services exporter country in 2020, and its share in world commercial service export increased from 3.4% in 2019 to 4.1% in 2020. So share in world commercial service export, share in world commercial service export, it was 3.4% in 2019 and now it is 4.1% in 2020. 4.1% in 2020. And from the source of World Bank, they have also given one graph here where they are talking about the increase in share of India's world commercial service export. That is one point which is given here. And in between, you can see that when we talk about the service sector, there is one important aspect, that is pandemic, which is mentioned here. So whenever there will be COVID-19 related restrictions, you will see that service sector will suffer. That is one common logic in this entire topic. So this impact of COVID-19 induced global lockdown on India's service export, it was less severe as compared to merchandise export. That is one significant point which is given here. So there will be pandemic impact seen everywhere in this entire topic, but here we can see that the impact of global lockdowns, impact of COVID-19 related global lockdowns COVID-19 related global lockdowns, it was less severe on India's export, less severe on India's services export compared to merchandise export, compared to merchandise export, compared to merchandise export. That is one point which is given here. So both declined due to COVID-19 related lockdowns. Both service export also declined and merchandise export also declined. But this merchandise export, or you can say goods export, this is also known as goods export, it declined by 7.5%, whereas service export declined by 3.3%. That is the difference. So both declined, but this impact was more severe on this goods export. That is the point which they have made here. Services export, in that this point they have mentioned. After that, related to services import, the import of services, it exhibit sharper decline. There is sharp decline in this import of services of 8.4%, of 8.4% in 2020-21, 2020-21, in comparison with service export, in comparison with service export. So that decline is there in comparison with service export. In comparison with service export. That is the one point which they have mentioned here related to services import. So there is sharp decline in the services import, and from Indian side we can see that many services were exported rather, and as compared to that there was decline in services import. After that, they are talking about the tourism sector. And when they are talking about tourism sector, one important source they have given here, that United Nations World Tourism Organization, UN's World Tourism Organization, World Tourism Organization. Now this UN World Tourism Organization, World Tourism Organization, they have released one World Tourism Barometer. They have released World Tourism Barometer. World Tourism Barometer. World Tourism Barometer. In that, they have mentioned one point, that international tourist arrivals declined by 74% globally. International tourist arrivals. International tourist arrivals, that is ITA, declined by 74%. Declined by 74% globally. Declined by 74% globally over the previous year. That pre-COVID and post-COVID you can see. So there is 74% decline in the international tourist arrivals. And when we talk about this tourism sector, this will be highly dependent on the international scenario, because international tourists will be arriving. So during this January to September, during January to September 2021, during January to September 2021, this international tourist arrival worldwide was 20% lower. International tourist arrival worldwide was 20% lower, 20% lower than same period in 2020, than same period in 2020. That is one important point, and it is 64% below the 2019 level. So it is 64% below the 2019 levels. below the 2019 levels. That is one significant point which is mentioned related to the international tourist arrivals. So this tourism sector will have that dependence. This tourism sector, it will have that dependence on this international restrictions related to COVID-19. International restrictions. That is one key area related to this tourism sector in the pandemic times. And when we talk about pandemic, related to that, we are having this Vande Bharat mission, which is mentioned here. Vande Bharat mission, which was launched in order to get back various kind of, you can say, expats to the home. So Vande Bharat mission to help the expats fly back home under the special diplomatic arrangements. And this was ongoing mission since May 2020. Vande Bharat mission. So these are the details that are given related to tourism sector. When we talk about this IT and then BPM services, IT BPM services, that is information technology business process management sector, IT BPM sector. In that, they have given one data related to NASCOM, that during 2020-21, during 2020-21, during 2020-21, this IT BPM revenue, and in that they have excluded e-commerce. So the IT BPM revenue is $194 billion US dollar. $194 billion US dollar. That is the IT BPM revenue, and in that you have not counted e-commerce. In that you have not counted e-commerce. So 194 billion US dollar, and last compared to last year it is 2.26% increase. So 2.26% increase we can see. So this is during 2020-21, and within this IT sector, so IT and business process management. So within that, this IT sector, it constitutes the majority of share. So within that also majority share is of IT sector. Majority share is of IT sector. That is one significant point. And some graphs are given related to that. After that, they are talking about the distribution of export revenue. So if you are exporting the services, what is the revenue distribution of that export? Within that, they have given the significant point that United States remain the biggest source of export revenue. So United States, it is the biggest source of our export revenue. Because biggest source of export revenue. Biggest source of export revenue. United States is the biggest source of export revenue, and some figure is also given, but no need to remember that. 92.1 billion US dollar, and this account for 62% of our entire export revenue, which is alone from United States. Then on second number, this is first number. On second number is UK. On second number is UK, which is second largest export market for India's IT BPM services. Second largest. Second largest is United Kingdom. Second largest. So this is distribution of export revenue. Distribution of export revenue, and this fact is given. And after that, there are some important initiatives which are mentioned here. So removal of telecom regulations in IT BPO sector. Removal of telecom regulation in IT BPO sector. And before that, there is one important legal initiative, that is telecom sector reform. So this is mentioned. Telecom sector reform. Telecom sector reform. and consumer protection rules and consumer protection rules, consumer protection, in bracket they have written e-commerce rules 2020. And why these rules are framed? To expand the access to talent, to increase the job creation, and to overall develop this entire sector. You are having these rules: Telecom Sector Reform and Consumer Protection E-commerce Rules 2020. Then they are talking about some relaxations, so removal of telecom regulations in IT BPO sector. So what are the various kind of relaxation? First of all, they have given one term, that is other service provider. So other service provider, and all the details are related to this other service provider. So last year, the government undertook a major reform of liberalizing the telecom regulations in IT BPO sector, and they called this as other service provider, OSP. What are these other service provider? Let's see. So related to this OSP, new revised and simplified guidelines were first issued in November 2020, and then again they have issued guidelines in June 2021. Prior to this, the other service providers were regulated under revised terms and conditions, other service provider rules 2008. And now you are having new rules. So this IT and IT enabled service companies. So these companies are important here. These carrying out services like telemedicine, e-commerce, call center, or other kind of services by using telecom resources provided by authorized telecom service providers. So the companies using the telecom resources provided by authorized telecom service providers were required to be registered as other service provider. Earlier, this was the situation that the companies were required to register as other service providers, and they need to comply with the onerous obligations of the OSP regulations. And because of that, somewhere this ease of doing business, it was getting impacted. Ease of doing business, it was getting impacted because of this. The application and approval process were cumbersome, and compliance obligations such as in relation to the sharing of infrastructure, work from home arrangements, or use of various kind of tools like EPABX. So just check this EPABX and internet connectivity. All these kind of regulations were there. So there was very difficult compliance procedure. It was a challenging kind of compliance procedure earlier, and now you are having the revised guidelines in which some important things are mentioned here. That first of all, you have defined the other service provider, that these rules will be applied to which of the following entities. That is one important point. So clear definition of other service provider. So the applicability of new guidelines is limited to entities that provide voice based BPO services only. So if you are providing voice based BPO services, the guidelines will be applicable to you. Voice based BPO services is defined to mean call center services. The new guidelines have explicitly clarified that non voice based entities will not be governed by the OSP regime now. After that, removal of registration requirement. That is, there will not be any registration certificate required for OSP centers in India. Also, there is no need of bank guarantee whatsoever will be required for any facility or dispensation under these guidelines. Apart from that, removal of distinction between domestic and international other service providers. So this categorization, the domestic and international OSPs, this is removed, and you will have one OSP, that is one single OSP category for both domestic and international business operations. Then work from home and remote locations will be allowed. The agents at home or anywhere shall be treated as remote agents then. Under OSP center, you will be treated as remote agent. The interconnection between remote agent is permitted by using technology like broadband, or you can say internet. The remote agent can now directly connect to the customer. And then this electronic private automatic branch exchange, that is EPABX, or centralized EPABX without the need to connect with the OSP center. So you will be using technology in order to connect the various OSP centers. Then interconnectivity between OSP is also allowed. So you can have interconnections between two or more OSP centers, and the same or unrelated company is now permitted. So you can have the connection between the OSP centers of same company or different companies also. And then sharing the infrastructure. So infrastructure sharing among the OSP is now allowed. It is also allowed. The guidelines allow the use of this EPABX at foreign locations also. And these are the various reforms which can help in generating income as well as generating employment in this sector. So these are the guidelines related to this other service providers which are given in this page number 329 of economic survey. Next is about the port shipping and waterway services. Port shipping and waterway services. First of all, related to this port, there is one significant fact given here, that the ports handle around 90% of export import cargo. Around 90% of export import cargo 90% of export import cargo by volume and 70% by value 70% by value in India. That is the significant point about the port. And because of that, the initiatives like Sagarmala are quite important. Then total cargo capacity of port. If you see this in March 2021, total cargo capacity of port. Total cargo capacity of ports. Total cargo capacity of ports. It is 1246.66 million tons per annum, that is MTPA, million tons per annum, and this is the data of March 2021. March 2021 total cargo capacity of ports. And related to this, there are some other things which are given here about various ports. They are talking about that almost all major ports recorded high growth in traffic, partly reflecting a rebound from the low base during the same time last year. So there is high growth in traffic among all major ports except the Kolkata port, Vizag port and Mormugao port. These three ports are not seen that kind of high growth in traffic, but all major ports, so almost all major ports recorded high growth in traffic. Recorded high growth in traffic. Recorded high growth in traffic except Kolkata, Vizag and Mormugao. Kolkata, Vizag, Mormugao. Kolkata, Vizag and Mormugao. And within the ports, this Kamarajar port of Chennai, it recorded the highest growth. Kamarajar port of Chennai. Kamarajar port of Chennai. It recorded highest growth. It recorded highest growth. Kamarajar port, it recorded highest growth. And maximum cargo movement was from Deen Dayal port. Deen Dayal port. Deen Dayal port. Maximum cargo movement was there. maximum cargo movement. Now these kind of things are important for prelims exam also, because they can ask you about first of all ports, that which are the major ports, which are the minor ports. So that thing they can ask you, and after that they can also ask about the individual performance of various ports in India during the last 1 or 1.5 years. So port, shipping and waterways, related to that, some important points they have given. There is one more word that is given here, which is basically the indicator of efficiency of the port sector. That is turn around time. This important point, turn around time. So you should check this. What is this turn around time? That is TRT. So if this is less, or if, let's say, as compared to last year, this year if turnaround time has decreased, then you will see that the efficiency of port sector will be improved. So decrease of this time will be the indicator of efficiency of the port sector. Turnaround time. And as per the UN Conference on Trade and Development, the median ship turnaround time globally was 1 day. That is 1 day in 2020. The turnaround time of the global average turnaround time. And over the last 7 years, this turnaround time in India, it has decreased to 2.25 days, and this is the data in 2021, that you are having turnaround time of that ship as 2.25 days. 2.25 days, and within that the lowest is of JNPT Mumbai. JNPT Mumbai, it is having lowest turnaround time of 1.16 day, and this Vishakhapatnam and Mormugao, these are having among the highest port turnaround time. So this is one significant point that you should check here, that is turnaround time. Turnaround time. Also related to this, they have mentioned about the Sagarmala program. Sagarmala program they have mentioned, and some related facts about the port-led development they have given. So this is about the port, shipping and waterway services, within which they have talked about specifically port they have emphasized, and in brief they have talked about the waterways like National Waterway 1, that is Jal Marg Vikas project, and some other ongoing waterway projects. So port, shipping and waterway services. After that, the next point is about the space sector, in which they talked about some recent initiatives like New Space India Limited, New Space India Limited, New Space India Limited, and some important things related to this New Space India Limited. About this, they are having one important point, that Tata Sky, it has signed this MOU. Tata Sky, it has signed this MOU with this NSIL for utilizing the capacity of the communication satellite GSAT-24. So this is for GSAT-24, GSAT-24 communication satellite. So this MOU is signed between Tata Sky and New Space India Limited. Tata Sky and New Space India Limited. After that, they are talking about this Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. Indian National Space Promotion, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Centers. Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. So in space, that is mentioned here. And apart from this, some other regulatory things like startups in the space sector. So there is one significant data about this, that in last 3 years, the number of startups in the space sector increased from number of startups in the space sector increased from 11 in 2019 to 47 in 2021. 47 in 2021. So these are about the space startup, and these are the details that New Space India Limited and then InSpace. The initiatives are being mentioned here. After that, they are talking about the revised guidelines for acquiring and producing geospatial data. So some key changes in the guidelines related to geospatial data they have given. So this geospatial data, this is one important point. This you can count in your GS3 also, and in your GS2 governance also you can count. What are the guidelines, changes in the guidelines? First of all, introduction of self-certification regime. And in order to simplify the process, you will find that in earlier guidelines also related to this OSP, they have given this point of self-certification. So introduction of self-certification regime, it is quite a thing nowadays. So all entities are now required to follow self-certification process to show the adherence in the guidelines, as opposed to obtaining prior approval or license. Earlier there was need of license, now you can have self-certification. Then next point is relaxation of restricted areas. So the mapping activities related to geospatial data are prohibited only for specific attributes of highly sensitive location, as opposed to the restricted areas under the previous regime. So you have decreased or relaxed the rules related to restricted areas. Then specific permissibility for Indian entities. So only Indian owned and controlled entities are permitted to use geospatial data above certain special accuracy. And what is the accuracy? That how clearly you get this images of that particular land area. So use of geospatial data above certain special accuracy, only Indian owned and controlled entities will be allowed. Then use specific technologies such as ground truthing and verification. So ground truthing means what? On one side you capture the image by using satellite, and you will cross verify it with the ground related data. So that is nothing but ground truthing. On one side you will capture the image, and on other side you will check this with the ground related data. So you will try to re-verify it. That is known as ground truthing and verification. And then conduct activities such as street view surveying and surveying in Indian territorial waters. So only Indian owned companies or entities will be allowed to do this, while non-Indian companies are not permitted to undertake any of the above. They can license this data from Indian entities if they want through the use of APIs, that is programming interface, only for the purpose of serving their Indian customers. That is one important point. Then relaxation on export restriction. The guidelines permit the export of maps with resolutions up to 1:100 resolution, thereby relaxing the previous threshold of 1:25 or 2,50,000 resolution. So now up to 1:100 you can export the maps with resolution up to 1:100. Maps which are finer than the specified resolution must be localized, and these are only permitted to be stored and processed on servers located within India. Why this is being done? Because this is highly sensitive kind of information. So if you want to have a minor detail about the land of India, then it should be stayed within the India only. That is the important point. And then open access to publicly funded data. The guidelines require all geospatial data produced using public funds, including the data produced by the Survey of India, to be freely accessible to all Indian entities for scientific, economic, and developmental purposes. Certain categories of classified geospatial data will be exempted from this requirement, but otherwise you need to have open access to publicly funded data. Open access to publicly funded data. After that, they are talking about the startups. And about this, they have given one fact here that during 2021, government recognized over 14,000 new startups. In this 1 year only, 2021, government recognized over 14,000 new startups. 14,000. Government recognized over 14,000 new startups, and some old data they have given in order to compare this, that during 2016-17 it was this 14,000, this number was 733 only. So this in 2016-17 you recognized only 733 new startups, and during 2021 government recognized 14,000 new startups. And as a result of this, as on 10th of January 2022, 10th of January 2022, you are having more than 61,400 new startups or total startups recognized in India. Recognized in India. So you are having total of more than 61,400 startups recognized in India. And related to this, at ground level, what is the situation? That 555 districts in India, 555 districts in India had at least one new startups, and this is the data during 2021. Had at least one new startups. One district, at least one new startup is there. And this is during 2021, at least one new startups. And when we talk about this startup, the data about the recent development we are talking about new startups. According to that, Delhi has replaced Bangalore as the startup capital of India. Delhi replaced Bangalore as the startup capital of India. Startup capital of India. And which state is having maximum number of startups? Maharashtra. So Maharashtra is having maximum number of startups. Maharashtra is having maximum number of startups. So Delhi is having the highest number of recent startups, but overall Maharashtra is having maximum number of startups. And within that also you can see the unicorn status. What is this unicorn status? So just check this. Unicorn status means what? Related to startup. Because related to this, India has record number of startups that reach this unicorn status in 2021. That means the high value startups we are talking about. And now it is the third highest country in number of unicorn startups after USA and China. So India is third highest now. It has replaced UK. So now it is third highest in terms of number of unicorn startups after USA and China. After USA and China. And as of 14th of January 2022, we are having this 83 unicorns. 83 unicorns are there as of 14th of January 2022. 83 unicorns are there. Right. So this number of unicorns. First is USA, second is China, and third is India. How many unicorns are there? 83 unicorns are there. 83 unicorns are there. So India is third in this list, number of unicorn startups, right? Then they are talking about patents and some factual details, because other points you will see in your reference books also, intellectual property right, GS3, but some data which is given in economic survey. So number of patents filed in India. First is number of patents filed in India. Number of patents filed in India. So it was 58,502. 58,502, and this is during 2020-21. 58,502 during 2020-21. And the patents granted in India, these are 28,391. So patents granted in India, these are 28,391. This is also during 2020-21. They have given some trend data that how it is increasing, but you can only remember this data, that what is the current scenario. Then share of Indian residents who are applying for the patent. Share of Indian residents applying for patent. Share of Indian residents applying for patent. So it was 20% in 2010-11, and now it is 40% in 2020-21. So 20% in 2010-11, and it has doubled. So 40% in 2020-21. 40% in 2020-21. Share of Indians applying. Also in this Global Innovation Index, India's ranking improved. Global Innovation Index. Global Innovation Index. India's rank is 46th. India's rank is 46th in 2021. India's rank is 46th in 2021. World Intellectual Property Organization, that is Global Innovation Index. But if you see the number of patents granted, still India is lagging. A small fraction of the patents that is granted in China, USA, Japan, Korea, as compared to these countries we are having still small number of patents that are being granted. What is the reason for this? The key reason is low number of patents granted. Low number of patents granted. What is the reason? First of all, the investment or share of your R&D activities. So expenditure. So low expenditure on R&D, that is one important point. Low expenditure on research and development. It is roughly 0.7%. 0.7% of GDP. This is in 2020. This is the one of the reason we can say for the low number of patents granted. One of the reason. Apart from that, there are some other reasons like procedural delays. Procedural delays. Then complexity of the process. complexity of the process, complexity of the process, that is also one of the reason. And average pendency, related to this they have given one data also, that average pendency for final decision, average pendency for final decision in acquiring patents, average pendency for final decision in acquiring patents, in acquiring patents in India, in acquiring patents in India, average pendency is 42 months as of 2020. So the pendency is 42 months. This is a huge number, 42 months as of 2020, as of 2020. This is the average pendency, and they have given this for different countries then. So it is 42 months for India, then in UK it is 37 months, in US 20 months, Korea 15 months, around 15 months, Australia 15.4 months, Japan 15 months, Russia 4 months. So this data is given by World Intellectual Property Organization, World Intellectual Property Organizations. And after that, in one of the box they have given the patent application procedure in India. So this they have given in detail, this you should check, the patent application procedure in India, right? So till this point, they have talked about the basic things about patent, that number of patents filed in India, share of Indian residents, global innovation index, India's rank, and then what is the reason behind low number of patents that are being granted. Right. So till this point, we have discussed about our topic on services, and now let's see the social infrastructure and employment. Social infrastructure and employment. In this, first of all, they talked about India's health response to COVID-19, in which they are talking about the response during different waves of COVID-19. Different waves of COVID-19. First of all, during the first wave, the number of COVID-19 cases started rising progressively, and after that, we had the response like we conducted this nationwide lockdown, nationwide lockdown. That is one point which is mentioned here. And the country faced massive surge in COVID-19 cases again starting March 2021, and that was the second wave. Number of deaths that they have shown on that graph also. Now, related to this, what was the approach of government? First of all, there was the lockdowns, nationwide lockdown, this we have seen about the approach of government. Then building capacity in health infrastructure, that was the approach, building capacity in health infrastructure, building capacity in health infrastructure. After that, COVID-19 appropriate behavior, that is CAB, COVID-19 appropriate behavior. COVID-19 appropriate behavior. After that, vaccination drive. Vaccination drive. So these are the key components of India's multi-pronged strategy of fighting against the COVID-19. And then we increased our testing capacity. We developed various kind of testing kits like rapid antigen kits. Then we increased our manufacturing capacity of N95 masks. After that, ventilators, then PPE kits. So all these things are being done by India as a response to the COVID-19. And then comes the COVID-19 strategy. So the COVID-19 vaccination strategy. In this, they have given the name of the program related to this. So National COVID Vaccination Program. This is official name of that program. National COVID Vaccination Program. National COVID Vaccination Program. National COVID Vaccination Program. And under this program, we are having various kind of strategies. First of all, there was this liberalized pricing, liberalized pricing, liberalized pricing, and accelerated national COVID-19 vaccination strategy, and accelerated national COVID-19 vaccination strategy. Now, as part of this strategy, firstly, this was in between. First phase was in between 1st May to 20th of June. 1st May to 20th of June 2021. Now, this is quite important because this will give you the clarity about India's vaccination program. That 1st May to 20th of June 2021, in between this period, what happened that state or UTs and private hospitals, so state government, UTs or private hospitals, this is quite important point, that state UTs or private hospitals were allowed to procure COVID-19 vaccines, were allowed to procure COVID-19 vaccines, to procure COVID-19 vaccines directly from the manufacturers, directly from manufacturers. Government of India procured 50% monthly vaccine by the domestic manufacturers, and rest of the 50% will be procured from state UTs or private hospitals. So 50% by Government of India and 50% will be from the hospitals, the private hospitals or states or UTs. But as the real time feedback was coming related to this, the guidelines were changed, and now from 21st of June 2021, from 21st of June 2021, from 21st of June, the Government of India procured 75%. Government of India procured 75% vaccines. Earlier it was 50%. Now 75% were procured by Government of India, and rest of the 25% to be procured by private hospitals directly. So that was the first point related to this liberalized pricing and accelerated national COVID-19 vaccination program. Then they are talking about various kind of vaccines, like Covaxin is there. Then you are having Covishield. So they are talking about this Covaxin and Covishield vaccines. After that, about the pricing and equity of the vaccines. So at all the government COVID-19 vaccination centers, the vaccines were made available for free. Vaccines were made available for free to all eligible citizens, and in union budget. So in related to this, in union budget, 35,000 crore was set aside for the vaccination program. So 35,000 crore were set aside for the vaccination program in union budget 2021-22. 2021-22, 35,000 crore was set aside for the procurement under COVID-19 vaccination program. And then in multiple phases this program started, COVID-19 vaccination program. So first phase was for health workers, and this is one point that we all know, but let's write this at one place, that first phase, the COVID vaccines were given to healthcare workers and frontline workers. So healthcare workers and frontline workers. Healthcare workers and frontline workers. First phase, vaccine was provided to these people. Then in second phase, in second phase, the vaccine was given to persons over 45 years of age with specific comorbidities and persons having more than 60 years of age. So 60 plus and 45 plus with specific comorbidities. 45 plus with specific comorbidities. So 60 plus and 45 plus. After that, the third phase, third phase where all the 45 plus people, 45 plus age people were allowed for the vaccine. So third phase, 45 plus, in which all 35, 45 plus category people we are talking about. Then 18 plus were allowed in fourth phase. 18 plus, and then in the last fifth phase, 15 to 18 age group. Fifth phase, 15 to 18 age group. So that was the entire division of the vaccines related to this various kind of age groups. So till 19th of January 2022, 3.73 crore youngsters between 15 to 18 age group have been vaccinated. Now, about this vaccine, there is also one more key issue, that is vaccine hesitancy. So for that purpose also government is having various kind of awareness programs. So vaccine hesitancy, that is a key problem. And related to that, we are having one campaign called Har Ghar Dastak. Har Ghar Dastak. In prelims, they can ask you that Har Ghar Dastak campaign, it is related to what? It is related to what? So it is related to this vaccine hesitancy. So this is a campaign, Har Ghar Dastak campaign. Har Ghar Dastak campaign related to vaccine hesitancy. Also, we are having local initiatives like vaccination toli, vaccination toli, who will spread that awareness about the vaccination tori, or you will call it like group vaccination, a group which is spreading awareness about vaccination. Related to the use of technology, we are having other such initiatives like Arogya Setu app is there. Also, we are having COVID, where you can book a slot for vaccine. Arogya Setu, then COVID app is there. And related to the progress of vaccination, right now, as of 16th of January 2022. So here we will write it, 16th of January 2022. So as on 16th of January 2022, 156.76 crore doses are given. 156.76 crore doses are given. And within this, 90 crore, roughly 90.75 crore are first dose and 65.78 crore are second dose. So total is 156.76 crore, including both the first and second dose. This is the data available as on 16th of January 2022. Then some initiatives taken to fight against COVID-19. So in this box they have given, you can read it, that laboratory networks are being made, then medical oxygen plants are being made. In this, organizations like DRDO are also involved. After that, you are having OxyCare system, which is also developed by DRDO. The government's spending on social expenditure increased. So government spending increased drastically on social expenditure. Government spending increased drastically, and both central government and state government, so both combinedly have spent 71.61 lakh crore. 71.61 lakh crore are being spent on the social service sector by both central government and state government. So this is a combined figure. Central government and state government have spent this much amount on social service sector. And within that, expenditure on health sector. For example, let's see what is the expenditure on health sector. Earlier, it was 2.73 lakh crore in 2019-20. 2.73 lakh crore in 2019-20. And if you see this in 2021-22, it is 4.72 lakh crore. 4.72 lakh crore. This is in 2021-22. This is the expenditure on health sector. Roughly, it is the increase of 20%. And in budget, you are also having one important government scheme, that is Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission. Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission. Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission. This is announced in Union Budget 2021-22. Union Budget 2021-22. And for this also, for the period of 5 years, you are having 64,180 crore rupees. 64,180 crore rupees. 64,180 crore rupees for the period of 5 years. For the period of 5 years, you are having this much amount, that rupees 64,180 crore. Also, according to our national health policy, this is again one important point, national health policy, which was released in 2017, we are having this target of having health expenditure of 2.5% of GDP. 2.5% of GDP, and this we need to achieve by 2025. So in accordance with that, the expenditure in the social sector, that is health, is significant, right? After that, related to this education, they are talking about education. In education, they are focusing on various kind of sectors like school infrastructure, where they are talking about the total number of schools, colleges, universities, and in that one point they have given is about the Jal Jeevan missions. Jal Jeevan mission. Jal Jeevan mission. Jal Jeevan mission, and this is as on 19th of January 2022. 19th of January 2022, Jal Jeevan mission. Under this, 8,39,443 schools were provided tap water supply, and this is a huge number. 8,39,443 schools were provided tap water supply. Were provided tap water supply. Were provided tap water supply as on 19th of January 2022. Apart from that, you are having within school infrastructure, there is digital infrastructure. So computer and digital connectivity. After that, this point they are talking about that computer and digital connectivity, it remained low. Computer and digital connectivity it remained low. That is one concern that they are talking about here. It remained low, the computer and digital connectivity. Also, they are talking about Samagra Shiksha scheme, and within that also you are having ICT component. So they are saying that you should utilize the ICT component of Samagra Shiksha scheme for the establishment of smart classrooms and ICT labs in schools. You should have the typical type of educational softwares and also e-content for teaching. So all these things can be ensured by this Samagra Shiksha scheme. Samagra Shiksha scheme. And some other related factual data they have given about the school infrastructure. And this data is something which you can also see in India Yearbook Education chapter. India Yearbook. In that also you will get this kind of data about the education system. Then enrollment, some factual details about school enrollment they have given. School enrollment. And within this, they are saying that in 2019-20, in 2019-20, 2019-20, 26.45 crore children were enrolled in school. 26.45 crore children were enrolled in school. Children were enrolled in school. $26.45 crore children were enrolled in school. And after that, a series of the charts they have given, and which talks about the education related details like school enrollment ratio in India at primary level, upper primary level, secondary level. Then school dropout rates in India at primary level, upper primary level, and secondary level. And some associated things related to that they have given. Apart from this, they are talking about the Acer report. So you should check the findings of this report. Acer report. Just check the findings of this report, which is mentioned in this survey also. But individually also you should check the findings of this report. Acer report. It found that despite the pandemic, enrollment in the age of 15 to 16 years continued to improve. That is one important point which is mentioned. It also mentioned that children in the age of 6 to 14 years that are not currently enrolled in school increased from 2.5% in 2018 to 4.6% in 2021. So the children between 6 to 14 years of age group, those are not currently enrolled in school, is increased by or is increased to 4.6% in 2021. Right. And some other related findings of this Acer report they have mentioned in this chapter of economic survey. Right. So this Acer report, you should see the findings of this report, because one question can be asked in prelims as well as a dedicated question in mains also can be asked related to this Acer report. Now, for students during COVID-19 pandemic, there are some initiatives taken. So this is mentioned here that major initiatives for students during COVID-19 pandemic. So PM eVidya, which was launched in May 2020. So all efforts related to digital education are unified here on this PM eVidya to enable the coherent multi-mode access to education. And then under this you are having one nation, one digital education, that is Diksha platform, one class, one TV channel through Swayam Prabha TV channel, and then extensive use of radio, community radio, and podcast. And there are some initiatives for differently abled also. One DTH channel, it is being operated specifically for hearing impaired students in sign language. For visually and hearing impaired students, study material has been developed in digitally accessible information system, that is DAISY, and in sign language also. So on one side you are giving content, On other side, you are also giving the study material related to the particular standard of education. Both are available on the NIOS website or YouTube also. And about 3029 audiobook chapters have been developed and uploaded on this One Nation, One Digital Education platform, that is Diksha platform. Also, of the recorded 602 videos, 490 textbook based on Indian Sign Language videos have been uploaded on Diksha. All 10,000 words of Indian Sign Language dictionary have been uploaded on Diksha platform, and it is being updated with additional audio and text facilities. That is one important initiative. And then we are having other things like National Digital Education Architecture and then Vidyanjali program. Now this Vidyanjali program, this is again one important program to connect the government and government aided schools through community or volunteer management program, and government has launched this Vidyanjali on 7th of September 2021. 7th of September 2021, and this type of program was earlier there also, and one question in prelims 2017 was asked on this Vidyanjali initiative also, right? So these are the major initiatives for students. And after that, one more important thing about education you should read, that is NEP 2020. In recent Yojana magazine, the title was New Education Policy 2020. In your India yearbook also, you should read that topic on education, where they are talking about the education policy. And then some other related details about the higher education are also given, like gross enrollment ratio in higher education and some recent initiatives related to higher education, like National Apprenticeship Training Scheme is there, then Academic Bank of Credit, then EPG Pathshala. EPG Pathshala, that is one important initiative. Unnat Bharat Abhiyan is there, which is related to higher education, and then scholarship for the weaker sections. If you see the website of Ministry of Education, you will get the different kind of schemes under the primary education, secondary education, and higher education also. Next point is about the skill development. Skill development, and this is quite important if you want to have, or if you want to harness the demographic dividend, and for that purpose this area is quite important, skill development. And under this improvement in skill, there is one important data given by Periodic Labor Force Survey. Periodic Labor Force Survey 2019-20. Periodic Labor Force Survey 2019-20. It shows that formal vocational or technical training, formal vocational or technical training among youth youth means here 15 to 29 years, 15 to 29 years, and working population, working population means 15 to 59 years, working population 15 to 59 years have improved in 2019-20. The formal education or training among youth and working population improved in 2019-20. Improved in 2019-20. This improved in 2019-20. The improvement in skill has also been for both male, female in both rural and urban area. And however, formal training for male and female is lower in rural than in urban area. So this formal training is lower in rural area. Formal training is lower in rural areas. Lower in rural areas. Formal training is lower in rural areas. About skill development, there are various kind of initiatives taken that are mentioned here. That Skill India mission is there. First of all, Skill India mission. Then you are having Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. And there is one important framework, that is recognition of prior learning. Recognition of prior learning. In UPSC Prelims 2017 exam, this question was asked. Recognition of prior learning. RPL framework. RPL framework. This was asked in UPSC Prelims 2017. Recognition of prior learning. That is RPL. After that, you are having this Jan Shikshan Sansthan scheme. Jan Shikshan Sansthan scheme. Jan Shikshan Sansthan scheme. Then National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme is there. National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme. National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme is there. And then Craftsman Training Scheme is there. Craftsman Training Scheme. These are the schemes that are mentioned in this government document. So you should know about these schemes. So Craftsman Training Scheme is there. And related to skill development, you are having this ASEEM portal also. ASEEM portal. What is the full form of this ASEEM portal? Atmanirbhar Skilled Employee Employer Mapping Portal. Atmanirbhar Skilled Employee Employer Mapping Portal. That is ASEEM portal. Then you are having India International Skill Center Network. India International Skill Center Network. Then there is one important scheme, that is Pradhan Mantri Dakshata or Kushalta. Pradhan Mantri Dakshata or Kushalta. दक्षता और कुशलता संपन्न हितग्राही योजना. संपन्न हितग्राही योजना. In short, it is known as PM Daksha. PM Daksha. प्रधानमंत्री दक्षता और कुशलता संपन्न हितग्राही योजना. प्रधानमंत्री दक्षता और कुशलता संपन्न हितग्राही योजना. So these are various government initiatives related to skill development. After that they are talking about this trends in employment. And for that purpose, they have used this periodic labor force survey data. Periodic labor force survey data is used. So trends in urban employment. First of all, they are talking about urban employment. Trends in urban employment. Urban employment. Within that, they are saying that before the outbreak of COVID-19, urban labor market had shown signs of improvement. Before COVID-19, there were signs of improvement where the worker population ratio, labor force participation rate, that is LFPR, and worker population ratio. These two are important indicators of this entire employment scenario. So these two were improving. But after that, nationwide lockdown, and in first quarter of 2020-21, unemployment rate of urban sector first quarter of 2020-21, the unemployment rate, we will call it UR, unemployment rate for urban sector increased to 20.8%. 20.8%. First quarter of 2020-21, and these two indicators also declined during this time. Labor force participation rate and worker population rate, these two also declined during first quarter of 2020-21, and also after that in fourth quarter, so let's call it Q4 of the year 2020-21, fourth quarter of year 2020-21, unemployment rate was 9.3%. Unemployment rate for this urban sector was 9.3%. 9.3%. And this was the same scenario for both male as well as female. Both the labor force participation rate and worker population rate for male as well as female almost reached their pre-pandemic level during last quarter of 2020-21, but still unemployment rate was 9.3%. Then related to this trend in urban employment, they have taken the help of this EPFO data, Employee Provident Fund Organization. So EPFO data, which is also one important indicator, because more the number of subscribers to EPFO, more will be the employment in formalized sector. Formalized sector. That is one important point, that more will be employment in formalized sector, because the net addition in EPFO subscriptions is an indicator of extent of formalization of job market, and as per the latest EPFO data, it suggests that there is significant acceleration in the formalization of economy. Significant acceleration is there, and 13.95 lakh net addition to EPF subscribers were there in November 2021, and that is one significant number, that according to the number of subscribers to EPF, you can see the formalization of that job market. The monthly net addition to EPF also in May 2021, if you see this data about May 2021, the net addition was 5 lakh. 5 lakh net addition to EPF in 1 month only. 5 lakh net addition is there to Employee Provident Fund in 1 month only. That is net addition of subscribers to EPF. And if you see this in May 2020, it was 2.9 lakh, which shows that there was a huge increase in EPF subscribers in May 2021. And this they have shown through various kind of graphs also. Then trends in the data on demand for work under Manrega. So if you see this work under Manrega, work under Manrega, work under Manrega. This is also one important indicator of the rural labor market. Rural labor market. Indicator for rural labor market. The demand for work under Manrega. And in this, the common perception was that the people migrated from the urban area to rural area, and in that area, the demand for Manrega increased. That was the common perception, that there are some areas from where you will see that people will migrate from that area, and there are some areas where people migrate to that area. Now in this there is one important point which they have mentioned here, that many migrant source states, migrant source means what? From this area people will migrate. Migrant source states like West Bengal is there, Madhya Pradesh is there, then Odisha is there, Bihar is there. So these are your migrant source states. And here the Manrega employment in most months of 2021 was lower than same year in 2020. So the Manrega employment in these states was lower in 2021. For most of the months, this was lower than corresponding 2020 level. And if you see the Manrega demand for other states like migrant recipient states, if you see Manrega demand here in migrant recipient states means Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, these are the migrant recipient states. Here, the Manrega demand was very high during the months or almost all the months of 2021. So, higher Manrega employment here. Here, you are having higher Manrega employment in 2021. So here we are not making any conclusion that there was no such kind of thing like people migrated to rural area and the Manrega employment increased. Yes, there can be scenario, but we cannot make a conclusive statement here. And that is the same point which they have mentioned, that relationship between Manrega employment and movement of migrant labor, it has not been conclusively determined. So this relation between Manrega employment and movement of migrants not conclusively determined. Not conclusively determined. Not conclusively determined. That is one point about the Manrega. So work under Manrega, which is indicator of rural labor market. Rural labor market. Also, they are talking about the long-term trends in employment. Long-term trends in employment under your periodic labor force survey data. So long-term trend in employment, long-term trend in employment using periodic labor force survey data. Using periodic labor force survey data. Long-term trend in employment. Here what they are saying that between 2018 to 2019 and 2019 to 2020. So in between this time period, about 4.75 crore additional persons, 4.75 crore additional persons we are talking about, additional persons joined the workforce. Additional persons joined the workforce. Joined the workforce. Additional persons joined the workforce. 4.75 crore additional persons joined the workforce, and this was about three times that of that between 2017-18, 2017-18 and 2018-19. 17-18 and 18-19. And in this, when we talk about this expansion in the additional workforce, the rural sector contributed more as compared to the urban sector. When we talk about the the expansion, rural sector contributed more than the urban sector. 3.45 crore from the rural area and 1.30 crore from the urban area. That is the net addition to the workforce in between 2018-19 and 2019-20. And in all this, we can see that agriculture was one important factor, and then from among the additional workers, 2.99 crore were females. 2.99 crore were females in this, and within this also agriculture. And there we can relate this feminization of agriculture, feminization of agriculture, feminization of agriculture. So net addition, this is based on long-term trend data in employment. Of the additional workers that joined in 2019-20, close to 90% were in informal employment. So of all those who joined, 4.75 crore, 90% were from informal employment. 90% were from informal employment. %90 were from informal employment. That is again one significant point. And then we talked about agriculture, that of workers added in 2019-20, that is 4.75 crore, more than 71% were from agriculture sector. So more than 71% from agriculture sector. More than 71% from agriculture sector, and within that also 65% were females. So female account for about 65% of this total employment in agriculture. 65% of total employment in agriculture. And after that, they are again talking about various kind of government initiatives like Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandhan Yojana. After that, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana. So various government initiatives are being mentioned, and this chart within that is quite important. The progress on social and health indicators. So you should read this chart, that what is the total fertility rate, and if you try to compare this, even if you try to compare these two, NFHS 4 and 5, that will be important. A total fertility rate, then sex ratio, infant mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate, institutional births, then pregnant women, population living in household that use an improved sanitation facility, and then household using clean fuel for cooking. So various kind of particular indicators are given, and they are talking about the details that are given in National Family Health Survey 5. So various all the National Family Health Survey they have given here. Within that, the NFHS 4 and NFHS 5 will be important. Right. And some miscellaneous points that are given in this topic are e-Shram portal. So this you should read in detail. E-Shram portal, that is given here. E-Shram portal. So read this in detail. E-Shram portal. After that, they are talking about various kind of labor codes. Various kind of labor codes they are talking about. And what is the current status of labor codes, which states have notified the labor codes. All these things are given in this topic, last topic of this economic survey. Then related to health, various kind of government schemes they have mentioned. Related to health, various kind of government schemes they have mentioned, like Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center, then Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Again, this is quite in news. Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Infrastructure Mission, this already we have seen earlier also. Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana, so this is also mentioned in the economic survey. Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana. Then Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission is there. Then related to COVID-19, e-Sanjeevani is also one important initiative. E-Sanjeevani. And then they have given the indicators, progress on social and health indicators. About child health also, they are talking about various kind of initiatives. child health indicators, and at individual level they are talking like life expectancy, what is the scenario, then total fertility rate, what is the scenario, about sex ratio also in detail they are talking about. Then there is one separate section that is drinking water and sanitation. Drinking water and sanitation. Drinking water and sanitation. And in that they are talking about the famous Jal Jeevan Mission. Jal Jeevan Mission. Jal Jeevan Mission. Jal Jeevan Mission. And in detail they have given about your Jal Jeevan Mission. Then other initiatives of this drinking water and sanitation department like Swachh Bharat Mission is there. Then clean cooking fuel Ujjwala, Ujjwala Yojana, that is mentioned here. Then related to rural development also, they have given various kind of government initiatives related to rural development. Rural development, various kind of government initiatives are given like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. What is the progress related to this scheme? That is being mentioned through various graphs. They are talking about the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. Also Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. What is the progress under this scheme? That is mentioned here. Like various phases are there. Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana phase 1, which was started in 2000, and recent Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana phase 3 is going on. Phase 3, that is in between 2019 to 2025. Phase 3, 2019 to 2025, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana phase 3. So that is mentioned here. And then various kind of other factual details like multidimensional poverty on very last page of this survey. Multidimensional poverty is mentioned here. Multidimensional poverty, we know that there is multidimensional poverty index by UNDP, and what are the various dimensions of the this multidimensional poverty index, that is also one important thing that you should read. So this was about the last topic of your economic survey, and in which we discussed about the social sectors, social sectors, and ultimately these are your 10 chapters of economic survey that we have discussed in a last span of around 6 days. So around 1 week, you can see in last 1 week we discussed about the economic survey 2021-22. First 5 chapters were related to your core economy, and then some other associated chapters in our last 3 lectures we have discussed. So that's it from this session of Economic Survey 2021-22. For more such videos and for more such content, you can join our YouTube channel. Also, we are having our Telegram channel. The link will be given in this description box also. So you can check that. And for more courses from Margee, you can contact on the numbers that are given in the description box. So we will stop here. Thank you. Thank you very much.